Right, well, this project is for my mother for her bedroom. We had some changes in the family this year, and she needed to rearrange the bedroom, new furniture, that kind of thing. And she needed a little nightstand, mainly for her oxygen tank that she has to use now. It's just a little, one of those little compressors, actually not a tank, but a little oxygen compressor. So my parents, historically, they love things made out of oak and poplar. I don't know why poplar, but they love poplar. But they always stained at walnut. So I'm going to use some Peruvian walnut that I got on sale. Rockler had a good sale. Not sponsored in any way, just have a history with that company. And I've had some acrylic maple laying around my shop probably for 20 years. No, probably for like 10 years. And I always like the juxtaposition of the two, the contrast between maple and walnut. So I think the top and the bottom, I'm going to do glue ups of this because obviously it's not wide enough. We're shooting for 12 inches by 15 inches for the top. So I'm going to need to take these and section it into 3 parts and do a glue up for the top and the bottom. And then these pieces here are just going to be about perfect for the 2 upright supports that we're going to use for this project. So these are S3S. Well, this one's not even that. This is S2S. So I have some milling to do to get these to where I can glue them together. So this is what we're going to be looking at. Something along the lines of gluing these 2 up. And I'm going to spend a good bit of time fretting about what order matches the color the best. Might be hard to see, but there's a little bit of the squeeze out fell down on my assembly table here. This is a David Mark style assembly table I built, again, 10, 12 years ago. But even with a dull chisel, this is actually a pretty sharp one. Just pops off because paste wax is a thing. See, it feeds up. Gets just hard enough, it pops off easily. Got a little knot here that's going to get cut out. This is nice and flat in this face. I'm just going to mark it. It's going to be ready for edge jointing. This guy though, a little bit of a wiggle. Easy to use its face flat. Well, here's more or less what I'm making, but without any of the cool curves and none of the joinery cut. But everything's now milled down, 12 inches wide by 15 long, 25 inches high for the whole thing, so 23 and a half. The maple 5 by 23 and a half, as was requested by my mother. So 4 days left. Get this done for Christmas. Better hurry up. Okay, so now I've done a bunch of stressing and I'm going to talk about something I don't know that I've seen a whole lot of people talk about. I am going to use my domino joiner, which I know is contentious, but I have to make this thing in a hurry. You obviously could do this with a router. I tended to use a Bosch router. This edge guide, cobwebby right now, with the micro adjust, a spiral upcut bit. Just plunge the depth of the mortise on either side, clean up in the middle. For the edge of boards, I made this extremely complicated jig for 3/4 inch material so that my router had somewhere to sit on. Now, so the domino is nice and it's fast and everything, but it's metric. And I'm American, so I measure everything in English, imperial units. So I've struggled with sort of locating mortises exactly where I want. Obviously, if you're talking about joining two boards that are coplanar, this is not a problem. You can use whatever fence, the domino one, or a dummy plate. And if you reference from the same two faces, they're going to align. But my issue is when I want them somewhere else. So the domino joiner from the base of the joiner to the center of the cutter is 10 millimeters, or I think that's what, 0.393701 inches. And that's roughly what I sanded this thing down to, so that I could create an offset, put the center line where I want the mortise center to be, put this on the line, strike the next line, back it off that much. But since I'm cutting a bunch of these in this walnut, I just put this little jig together. So it will sit and register off an edge, and then the domino can sit up against it, and that should center this mortise right where I want it, which in this 12-inch span, it's at 4 inches off each side and 6 inches in from either edge. So that's the setup. So again, here's the setup. I just use a Kreg face clamp to clamp that little jig on. That is offset 4 inches minus 10 millimeters. So then I sit the domino on it this way. The center of the mortise will be 4 inches within, I think I got it within a 64th of my test cut. Close enough for my money. This one's going to be a tight mortise here, and a tight mortise here on the front for the two legs, and a loose mortise here, and a loose mortise here, and the same on the other piece of walnut, and then tight mortises for on the legs. So that way we'll register off the front. This is the front edge of the piece. We'll have a tight reference for the front two mortises, and then a little loosey-goosey in the back to make sure that if we were off a little bit, we won't have a problem fitting it up. Made a little template, 1/4 inch material. Just came in, it was an inch, and then bent a thin strip to trace. My daughter traced that for me. Okay, so in case you've never done template rounding, it's not that hard. The way it works is I cut a template, and I need to make the sides of these legs all as close to the same as possible. So I've left a little flat on the top and the bottom when I rough cut these out on the bandsaw, and maybe about a 16 to an eighth of an inch left to remove. And I'll set this up against my table saw fence, take my template, and I can align it that way because I made the template the same width as the full width of this board on this one. And I'll take double stick carpet tape. Some people like to use the CA glue trick where you put down blue tape and then you CA glue blue tape to blue tape. I've never tried that. It probably works okay, but I've been using this for 20 some years and it seems to work as well. But I tape the template to the board, and in my router table I have a spiral flush trim bit. You can use any flush trim bit for this for a lot of types of woods, but with curly maple I like to use the spiral cut one, so you don't get as much tear out, or any if you're lucky. It's just a little bit of more difficult wood to cut with a straight router bit. And that's it. Once I do that, the ball bearing will ride on the template, it'll cut the piece beneath it, flip the template over, go again, do that 4 times for the legs, do that 4 times for the top with the second template, and things should be more or less the same all around. And this I'm going to be routing all end grain. And that's where these spiral bits really come in handy. They're going to make that so that it's not a problem. I did the very boring job of sanding from 80 to 150 to 220 using the extract sandpaper. I'm going to come back and knock this down to 150 because for the first project ever, I'm going to use this Rubio Monocoat stuff everybody loves. I dry fit the assembly and I taped this off so that I don't spill glue all over this stuff.